The cost of not locking in is the rest of your life clocking in, babes. Hey you guys, I'm coming to you. I don't know if you can hear that. From Miami. Stay tuned for the vlogs. Anyway, today I wanted to come to you guys for the first video of the year. That's the thing about Miami though, I don't know if you can hear it. People are always revving the engine on their cars and it's like, nobody cares. I don't know who needs to hear this, but hopefully this reaches the right audience. Let's just get into it. You already read the title. Like 3 years ago, I left my job. It's been a wild ride since then, but here I am 3 years later. And I was reflecting on this too, and I just thought it was a crazy process. So I do some reviews on this channel. So this is a little review of quitting your job. Let's just answer, I think, the most top questions that would come from this. Is quitting your job worth the hype? The not fun answer to this is I think it really is dependent for everyone based on their situation, but I'll talk about mine specifically. Do you regret quitting your job? And my answer is no. I'm grateful for the experience. I'm glad that was a chapter in my life, and I'm glad that this is a chapter in my life. You know, we move. And I'm coming to you to even talk about this because 3 years ago I posted a video on this channel that was like I quit my job, like documenting the experience and stuff like that, because it was also during the time of the Great Resignation, which was so dramatic, by the way. Like that was so dramatic for no reason, but I was part of that crew, and if you were part of that crew too, let me know like what is up with you, what's the update. But for me, like, this is my update, basically. This is my follow-up. This is my story, my truth. It was my first job out of college. I think that also, like, could just give you the best experience in general because, like, you're a baby and people are generally nicer and more welcoming to you than, like, if you're further down your career and everyone's just like, oh, like, welcome, I guess, you know? It was at a tech company. It was remote. But, you know, it was COVID lockdown, so everybody was remote anyways. But one of the reasons why I applied to the company is because I saw they just already had remote even before the lockdown, so it's just like a thing. I always knew they were chill like that. Plus they did win like some best place to work for award at some point on one of those company ranking websites. So I was going into it knowing that like I was working at one of the best places to be working at. So like if this doesn't work well, like I don't know what else, you know. I was like putting myself there. And it was like why I applied. Going into the job, I wanted to give myself, you know, the chance of experiencing and learning that. So I did. And then after half a year or so, I was like, yeah, honestly, as expected, I wasn't really having the best time. And again, this is like not the company, not the people. I think it's just more of the concept of a corporate job in general. I think I'll go like briefly into what happened right after, and then like today, I guess you'll see the transformation a little bit. I left like the end of the year, maybe it was last day of December or like last week of December, so everything was already chill because of the holiday time. And then I just like closed my laptop, sent it back, and that was the end of that. It was just so tame, I guess. It kind of felt like any other day. I think it's different if you work in an office and like maybe they have their farewell parties. I don't know how it works if you leave your job in an office setting, but like there was a Zoom farewell that I had a week or two before I had left though. So I just like kind of quietly left on my last day, and then that was that. So you might be like, okay, so like what did you do next? I had nothing lined up, y'all. Like I was still in the fresh grad phase, or mindset was like, I still got time, like I can explore. I scaled back too much, basically, to the point where I just chilled and I was just like a potato. I was living at home, so I had no bills to pay. Other people might have like stuff lined up. I had nothing. I was just cold turkey, like let's go, no backup, just vibe, like let's do this. I probably would not do that if you have bills to pay, or if you have a huge savings, like sure, why not? I'm just lucky I had that safety net, honestly, to just like leave like that. And at that time I was like kind of growing my TikTok page, but then I kind of realized it wasn't really going anywhere. So I was hoping that would kind of work out, but nothing really happened. Wasn't doing much, just just living life, no vibes, until I realized this is actually not fun at all. It's funny because I think when we're at like jobs, most people are like I just want to sit around and do nothing. But then when you sit around and do nothing for too long, you realize it's actually not the vibe. It's not. So around like April, May that year, I was like, okay, like I need to do something. To fast forward, I basically just like got into creating content for brands, for their like social media and ads, now mainly ads because it pays more. I just thought that was super fun, and UGC, which is what it's called, was also exploding at that time. There were more brands looking for than there were creators, but now there's like so many creators on it, so there's like really no gap in like the market, I guess. I was there at a good time, so yeah. That's basically like what I work on now, and then also like just posting TikToks, because last year I really got into TikTok Shop because I saw that was going to be a huge opportunity. It was actually so funny. At the end of 2023, I was telling my friend like, I think like TikTok Shop is going to be huge, because I kind of already had an idea of shopping like through social media in China, and that was huge. If TikTok can pull this off, like it would be crazy. And then last year, most of my income was from TikTok Shop, and it was a crazy year. But I think the whole time you can see that like I just work with opportunities in the social media space because I think that's like the most interesting. And I also think it's funny because in my high school yearbook, there's like the superlatives, like most likely to whatever. I think mine was like most likely to keep up with like what's going on the internet or stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, it's just always who I've been, I guess. Like, anyways, in my original video, I kind of talked about why I left, a lot of different factors basically. But looking back on it today, I realize it comes down to like these core pillars that I will share. And if you resonate, I definitely encourage you to like see how you can, you know, change your life, because like, girl, we have the power to change our lives. Obviously, if you love corporate, if you love your job, like I know there's so many corporate baddies out there, like you slay, like that's it, you know. You probably cannot relate to this, so but if you were like me and you're just like, how you just feel like the system is not designed for you, the track that's been laid out, it does not resonate with you, this might be why. I didn't want to yap too much about why I left, but I think it literally ties into why I live the way that I do today, so I think it's relevant. The three pillars are time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. These are going to be the three keys I'm looking for in whatever I do. As soon as one of those is constrained or not possible, then I'm out. We'll do a compare and contrast. So while I was working my job, I felt like I did not have time freedom. Your salary is your employer's payment for your time. Even though it's not like strictly 9 to 5, you know, like that is the work time. And I feel like just the idea of having to work 9 to 5 is so outdated. Like it's kind of crazy. It makes sense back in the days for like factory workers, because if you're doing manual work, it's based on how much you produce like in a certain amount of time, right? Because then you know how much you're producing, you know your supply, you know the demand, and you can match up with it. But for corporate jobs, when we're literally just click-clacking on the keyboard, I think it should be so much more performance-based. And I heard this from my friends who work in office jobs too. Some of them literally finish their work, like they can finish it in like 2-3 hours, and then the rest of the day they still have to be at the office because that's just like the mandatory time that you're supposed to be there. And like that doesn't make sense at all. And yeah, that could be like considered a chill job and stuff like that, but at the same time it's like that's your time. Like you could be doing something else that you wanted, you know, random meetings, that could be an email. I kind of felt like I was wasting my life away a little bit. So, you know, when I left my job and I was just like chilling at home, I was also wasting my life. Like I can't even defend myself, but it's different when somebody else does it for you. What I've been trying to do these past years, I feel like I do have time freedom. If I'm doing something and I'm spending time there, it's because I want to be there, okay? And also for vacation days, like you're trading 50 weeks of work for 2 weeks off, like, huh? So even think about it in terms of the week. You get 7 days a week, you're gonna trade 5 days of work for 2 days off. See, yeah, especially for like people who have to commute. Let's not normalize this. Like, if it's not for something that you want to be commuting to, it just, the math doesn't check out for me. Let's go on to the next pillar, which is location freedom. Okay, so this actually just relates to commuting, right? If you, especially with companies that are like, you must go back to the office. I think it's so crazy that is being enforced. I mean, it makes sense because these companies are paying for these properties and spaces, so they're just like, they need to make good use, and they might want to have like a watch over you or whatever, but that's another conversation. But again, that's just like not having self autonomy and not having the freedom because somebody's telling you to be somewhere at what time. It's like, I think it's great when people have the choice to be, because I get like office culture can be like fun and like, you know, you get to socialize, bond more, meetings, stuff like that. But if it's just like for the pure fact that you have to be there, you know, then versus now, not too much of a change because like I said, the job I had before was remote. So I guess like technically I could have been in like Miami here if I wanted to, but it's just different when it's like on your own terms. As long as I have Wi-Fi, I guess I'm good, really. This is also why I didn't start like a local boutique if I was doing a business, because then I kind of have to be there. And then the last thing is financial freedom. I talked about this in my why I quit video, but basically like I think it goes with career growth and stuff. When you're working at jobs, like you kind of just know what your next increased pay is going to be. And it's like, but I don't want to be stuck in that range. Like I don't like to be capped like that. Again, it was one of those things where it's like, it felt so limiting. All of these things felt like constraints. It was a game I did not want to be playing in. So I just felt like this is not for me as well. I was an associate marketing manager, so I could see kind of where the career trajectory or growth would be for that, and like the top is a CMO, right? And like I don't want to be a CMO, so I was like, even if I put in like the best work and decades to get to that position, it's like, but I didn't want this, so what am I working towards? So there was that whole aspect of it. But then strictly for like, if we're talking money and like financially, like I know there would be like an X percentage growth in salary each year, and even if I job hopped and I got like the 30% growth or whatever, it still wasn't like I had more potential than that. I didn't want to be capped like that. I was like, you know, like I need to get my bag. Like I feel like I could do more. Try to negotiate too. That's what they tell you, but they were not moving. I know that in jobs there's a ceiling, but when you're by yourself, there is really no ceiling. There's also nothing, right? Like my first year was really bad. Like when I was unemployed, like you could say I took a huge pay cut, but we're building. So that's part of the game. It's part of the journey. And last year I had my best year yet. So it is a full journey. Like you kind of have to accept it. I just knew that I had to do something on my own if I wanted to make more money than the caps that have been set in the different positions in marketing. And also this doesn't go for people who do like their 9-to-5 or job on top of, you know, like a business or something like that, or should I say a business on top of their 9-to-5. I did consider that for a bit, but then I was like, I don't know what is it with me and like the mental hurdle. Yeah, looking at today, I don't regret taking that pay cut at all. I like have proved to myself like ability, I guess, and I just hope for an even better year this year. So here's like a con, I guess, like you don't hear about much often, but when you like get into a DIY life, like I call my life a DIY life, unless you already had something steady that you are going into. But if you are like starting this over for me, like I can only speak from my experience, right? It was really not as smooth, and there's like just so much up and down that goes with my income. But you think about income differently, and your mindset for money like changes completely differently, which I think is really helpful. Instead of now an annual income, because you know how people think usually when you work a corporate job, you think about like how much you get paid. Like I get paid 80K, 100K, 150, 300, 400, whatever. Like you think about it in the year, but I think more when you work for yourself, or when you do, or I don't know if it's like a online money kind of thing, you think about it in months, y'all. That shifts your mindset completely. So that's also a little nugget, but yeah, it goes up and down a lot. Yeah, so I guess now we're kind of moving into the pros and cons. So pros, I feel like you kind of already get an idea from what I'm saying. Autonomy, like living life on your own terms. The cost of not locking in is the rest of your life clocking in, babes. I just saw that meme the other day. but it's true. It's kind of true though. The other pro is like you definitely like gain more in your business abilities. Like you really have to advocate yourself. Don't sit around waiting for somebody to save you, basically. And I think you really like, yeah, you just get to take more control of your life. So I feel like the other pro is you're a lot more open-minded and you're always like open to opportunities. Like I'm seeing what's out there. So I think those are the general pros, and I think those are honestly like the biggest luxuries. It is freedom. That's what it is. Okay, next. We'll move on to cons then. At best, it's questioning and reflections. At worst, it's doubt, it's fear. And even today, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Because when people around you are in jobs that are more or less stable, or at least they have this track that even if they don't love it, like the next move is kind of ready for them, you know what I'm saying? Like they can follow this track that so many people are already in as well. But when you're DIYing, like there's really no track to follow, and things are like this, and you kind of have to be okay with it. So it can be very confusing. Generally, when you're in a role, it's like you have your manager, like maybe a support team, a mentor, like these people who can give you tips and guidance. My guidance is literally just like looking up other people on the internet and like trying to piece it together by myself, basically. So yeah. Hey, I'm editing the video right now and I just watched the part that you guys watched, but I wanted to add on another point that I didn't remember until I watched this. So I'm talking about the doubt, right, that you might have, or just like questioning, like you don't know what's going on, whatever. But that is from an internal perspective, and you can always manage how you feel, right? But here's the thing. When you face external doubt, like when people are projecting that onto you, top 5 worst feelings in the world. That is a con, major con right there. I think it's like doubt, judgment, like all of these things. So when people are like, well, good luck with that, you know, like these backhanded things, or how much money does that make? Like these things that are just so, maybe they don't even realize it, but the tone gives it away, and it's just not a good feeling. That's why we're all about good vibes here. Generally speaking, like people who branch out on their own, who have tried to do something of their own, they're not the ones to be making these judgmental comments. Like it's never them. I feel like they're more supportive in like your endeavors, and sometimes strangers can be more supportive. Usually the people who are making those comments, they got something else going on. I don't know if it's like, I mean, I'm not a therapist, so I don't know if it's like insecurity within themselves, like maybe they want to try to, but they like, I don't really know. It tends to be, you know, the people who haven't done it, who haven't played the game, to be judging you. And it's like, that's not your game to judge your own game. So if you ever get that feeling, we gotta toss it away. I think it's definitely a test to see like where you truly stand with yourself and what you're doing. But also like, we got you too. Like I'm here to support you because I know what that's like. So, and then the last con is it just can feel very isolating. I don't know anybody who I am close or friends with, like truly friends with, who is in this, like doing this DIY life as well. You feel at times like disconnected from the people around you because nobody really gets it. They don't really bring up like the problems or issues. Like everything is kind of like, again, like DIY, like I just DIY. But you know, like sometimes it's just good to talk out stuff with other people. It can just feel like nobody gets me, like I'm just a girl, like, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, if you guys have any like relatable experience, if you are also a DIY life person, please let me know, because I'm trying to find more of y'all, and I like would love to hear your stories regardless, actually, wherever you are in your journey. Stay tuned for the Miami vlogs, like I said, and just more videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Some final bonus content before I leave you. There was this like trifecta that I totally forgot to mention, that this was honestly a win-win-win situation for everyone, and you can think about this for yourself too, because I think it totally changes your perspective on how you see this. If you're leaving a job that like you don't love, you're doing a service to everyone. Okay, if you're thinking about like, my manager's gonna be so mad, like this is so bad for the company, blah blah, trust me, you're gonna be replaced so quick. I was replaced so quick, and when I came in, I was replacing somebody else. Okay, this is just how the machine works. Think about you being the owner of a company. You want to hire the people who love the job, who are so passionate, interested, because they're going to put in the most time, quality, effort into the work and produce better for the company. So obviously that wasn't me. I thought what I was doing was like interesting, but it wasn't like, you know, something I was really going all in on. So I think it's a net positive that I wasn't wasting my time, I'm not wasting their time, and for the person who actually likes and enjoys and is interested, that's also a positive for them because they get the position. You see how that works? Obviously there's this whole other conversation, like not everybody has to love their job. I understand, but we're talking about, you know, the general gist of everything. All right, I'm gonna sleep now. Bye.